COPD, or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, sometimes known as chronic bronchitis or emphysema, is a very serious condition. It affects over 3.5 million people in the UK alone, and globally it's the third leading cause of death.
COPD presents itself in a number of ways. Often it's recurrent, people are getting recurrent chest infections, they're getting a non-productive but chronic cough, or sometimes quite insidiously with progressive shortness of breath, people being unable to do what they would normally expect to be able to do. You're on maximum therapy already, but there is ways we can optimise it.
The Salford Lung Study is designed to measure the effectiveness of a COPD medicine. By that we mean how the medicine works in a real-world setting. The usual way we investigate new medicines is using what's called a double-blind, randomised controlled trial. This is regarded as the gold standard for clinical research. And while this is very scientifically robust, it doesn't always tell us everything we need to know about how a medicine will behave in a typical ordinary group of patients when they're looked after in routine clinical care by their GP.
What makes the Salford Lung Study different is that in most studies you get a very small group of patients with quite strict criteria as to whether they can enter the study.
If you've got any questions, then I'm here and I can answer those questions for you.
The good thing about the Salford Lung Study is that anyone can enter it as long as they've got the condition, so it makes it a much more real-life study than the normal studies we do.
If you're conscious, then you tell them, I've got COPD.
It is worth mentioning, isn't it?
I think the real world setting is very important because it does mean that the patients are in the wild, they're at home, they may pick up the prescriptions, they may not pick up the prescriptions, they may take their inhalers, they may not take their inhalers, and that's what happens in the real world.
Salford's a very suitable place for this sort of study because we've worked for many years on getting an electronic record shared between primary care and secondary care in the city, and because of this we've got a very good integrated clinical record which any appropriate health professional can access. So because of that we can follow the patient carefully without being too intrusive. We kept on dropping down to 82. It's level of oxygen in your blood. Salford Lung Study we think is a groundbreaking study. It's the first realistic or real life, naturalistic, whatever you want to call it, study of its sort, and we would hope that it opens up a new method of research and a more accurate method of research which will benefit both medics and their patients.